All right, guys, and welcome to the show today. My name is Carl, and we have a wonderful show going for you. And welcome to the Recovery Revolution live stream on Facebook. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have an amazing show lined up for you. I am the host and the creator of the Drunken Worm podcast. And as always, we have Brett with us and the lovely Ashley. And today's guest is going to be Matt. And Brett, I'm going to hand it off to you, brother, and I'll let you introduce our guest for this podcast today.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that. I love the Christmas music that you threw in there, Carl. That was great. Good stuff, man. I'm Brett. I also host another podcast called Recovery Survey. You guys probably already know about it if you've tuned into the live stream before. It airs every Wednesday. This week, who's on this week? I can't remember. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but we're talking about grief and loss in recovery. So it's a good one. Be sure to tune into that. And we're joined by the lovely Ashley Grimes once again. And without further ado, our guest tonight is named Matthew Bauersachs. He's the founder and director of operations at Learn to Live Recovery. He has a bachelor's degree in social work, a master's degree in social work. He was the president of student social work. I can't even talk, man. He has 4 years of substance abuse treatment experience. He holds credentials in Missouri. Unfortunately, he's a St. Louis Blues fan, and he's celebrating 11 years sober today. Welcome, Matthew.
Nice.
Oh, man. Oh, thank you for that warm introduction, Brett.
Yeah.
Let's go Blues first.
That's right.
Stars.
Congratulations on 11 years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I was telling Brett before the show, it still just feels surreal that it's been that long. That after that first year, it was just, more and more gifts, more and more things that I got from my recovery. And it's hard to believe that it's been over a decade. And, I get the opportunity now to help people new in recovery. I'm very involved, even outside of Learn to Live, in the 12-step rooms. I sponsor men in the program. Recovery really has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. I'm so happy that there are platforms like this where we can talk about it and show people that it's possible.
Recover out loud.
Yeah. That's really awesome, man. So Matt, Brett said that you also work in the recovery field. Can you tell us what that's like for you, being a person in recovery, and then also being able to kind of work on the other side of the coin, so to speak?
Yeah, I actually initially, after getting sober, I had close to a year, and I realized I wanted to go back to school. And when I went back to school, it was not for social work or for anything related to treatment or recovery centers or therapy or anything like that. I was led to that later because I didn't think that I could work and live my recovery together. But once I was led kind of over to the social work world, I realized that my story could be a powerful example to the people that I would be working with. And it's a true balance, though. If I'm being honest, I have to be selfish with my time. I have to make sure that I hit my meetings, I make my phone calls, I'm still being of service. And I do all of that separate from what I do at Learn to Live. Brett was talking about Learn to Live for a minute. It's my structured sober living program in Missouri. And, I love working with the guys, one-on-one groups, all the activities and stuff we get to do. We get to go to Blues games, Brett, and we get to see them win. Oh, man, it's great. But it is a true balance. I've seen people have trouble with kind of that work-life balance. Maybe they get out of their program for a while and struggle. But for me, after about my first year into it, once I realized what my maintenance was, it really allowed me to grow in my recovery, but also use my recovery as a way to prop some people up when they're early on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's where you talked about that work-life balance. I think that that's so important for anybody in recovery, right? If you're a person that works maybe in the recovery field, but also maybe just a person in recovery, and maybe you work another job that you have passion for and stuff. I can totally relate to that because I also work in the recovery field, and it was tricky for me to learn that balance because they talked about it all the time in school, right? You got to have balance. You got to, have a life outside of work, and you have to have your work cap that you take off and that you leave at the door, right? And it was really interesting for me to kind of learn how to do that. And it took me a while to kind of adjust to that. Did you find that it took you a while to adjust to it at all, or did it come pretty naturally for you?
No, there was definitely an adjustment period. I like to describe alcoholics and addicts as all gas, no brakes. Whatever we do it all the way.
Yeah.
And that was me. I got my first job as an intern at a treatment center in St. Louis, and I just threw myself into it. And I maybe didn't even realize that it was happening, but before I realized it, I hadn't been to a meeting in months,
Mhm.
and I felt that burnout happen,
Yeah.
and I felt depressed and like low energy, and it was a nightmare feeling, and I hadn't really felt that way in a long time because I was, kind of like on fire, when it came to kind of the recovery aspect of my life. But it was definitely a learning curve. It was a wake up call. Luckily, I work with a guy who works for me now, David O'Neill, who kind of pulled me aside and talked to me about it and took me to a meeting. And kind of after that point, when I kind of got a taste of the bad taste in my mouth, I really take it seriously now because I know that I don't even want to go back to feeling that way. I
Mm.
definitely don't want to go back to using again, but that feeling is still no fun.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And it really kind of boils down to being able to deal with our feelings and our emotions and our, and how we process things, right? And not to interrupt, but guys, I've seen the chat room blow up here, and we've got some folks here that are just a few days sober. Guys, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah,
Vincent, 3 days.
Glad you're here.
3 days. That's amazing.
Jessica's got
Congratulations.
2.
Jessica, 2 days up here. Yeah. Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. And I hope that, by listening to this show and being able to interact with us a little bit, you're going to get something that will help you keep going tomorrow and the following days. And Julian, congratulations, 132 days from Australia. That's amazing. Great work out there. Slightly jealous of being in Australia, but that's okay. We're here in Well, I'm in California. These guys are over. They're in the snow. Well, not Ashley. She's from Florida.
It's warm here.
Yeah, exactly. Ashley, it's warm there. Yeah. So, and Shelly, welcome back. Good to see you again. So yeah, man. But Matt, that's really amazing, and congratulations on 11 years, man. That's so amazing. Could you have imagined 10 years ago being where you are now?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had to get sober young. I got sober at 20 years old.
Mm.
It got bad for me quick. And don't let my gray hair fool you. I'm only 31. Uh, but back then I couldn't even imagine, holding down a job or finishing school or having a family, let alone, all the other great blessings that recovery has given me. Like when I did the podcast with Brett afterwards, we were talking, and we both had a daughter around the same time. I had a daughter this year. Uh, Her name's Magnolia. She's beautiful. I got married in 2020 to an amazing woman that supports me. in my sobriety. Like my dad will always say, "Man, I thought for sure you were going to end up in jail. I never thought that you would graduate from college, let alone twice." Like I it, I was a horrible student. I was a handful of a kid. I thought I knew better than everyone else, and just a decade later, I could have never even dreamed to have the life that I have today.
Yeah. Wow, that really kind of puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that for at least the four of us that are on the stream, and I don't want to talk for anybody else, but we have definitely seen the power of working a program of recovery and the power of being able to learn about ourselves and understand ourselves better. We talked a little bit about that last week, it's really amazing to feel that love. Jessica was saying that, on right now, she was saying that she's very emotional right now. And Jessica, that's great. Feel those emotions. We want you to feel those, right? Because it's so important to be comfortable with those emotions. And we're just so happy that you're here today. So Matt, tell us, what do you do in the recovery field exactly? What is your niche or your title or?
Oh, yeah. So I guess my title is founder and director of operations, but I technically own and operate a structured sober living, um, just outside St. Louis in a town called Herman, Missouri.
Okay.
It's called Learn to Live Recovery. We we really want to teach and show these guys that they can live a recovery lifestyle, where you can have fun in recovery. You can
Mhm.
learn new skills. You can have a passion for what you do occupationally. Um, we can feel these feelings like Jessica's talking about, and in a healthy way. We don't have to hide from them anymore. Um, and so, really, structured sober living to me is higher education for sobriety. A lot of these guys, a lot of our guys have been through treatment programs, multiple. Um, they come to us because they want to try something different. And, with inside of what we do, and I could talk all day about it. um, I think the biggest thing is all the overlooked um, pieces of an alcoholic and an addict. We feel more than the typical person. We have strong emotions. We have strong feelings, and when given the chance in recovery, we can do amazing things with that. We can become extremely passionate people in whatever line of work thing you want to do. It doesn't really matter. And that's what I stress with my guys is don't settle for what you think you're capable of.
No.
Recovery is the beginning. It can give you so many great things.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think it's really good that you said, not to settle for the things that you think that you're capable of, because one thing that I've learned in recovery, and I'm sure that, Brett and Ashley have also experienced the same things. And if you want to chime in on this, guys, that would be great. But like, I've realized that I put limitations on myself when I came into recovery. I said, well, I hadn't gone to school in 20 years. And so I'm going to be horrible at school. Why would I be any good at school? Because I failed at it before. But when I tried to go back to school and I went back to school, it was an amazing experience. And I actually excelled more than I did in college than I had in high school. And I was better at it. And I don't know exactly why. I always say it's like life experience or something, but but what I've learned is that if I've decided to put my mind to something, I can get that done, man. And it's usually not that difficult to do. But it's when we hold fear into our hearts and we let fear guide our emotions and we let fear of failure hold us back from our success. That's the part that's really hard. And that's the big hurdle that I had to get over.
I think for me, it was shame. I just had such low self-esteem. And as I got further into my recovery and further into things, my self-esteem built, and I started to believe that I deserved to have dreams. So that was hard for me at first.
Yeah, I mean, the fear aspect is something that I hit home with my guys, is because, fear is kind of what keeps us from things. Like for me, I had such a fear of failure, and like you, such a fear that like going back to school wasn't an option for me because I was a horrible student. Um, that getting a job and holding it was going to have to be enough for me, that I couldn't do more. And by walking through that fear with support, it's given me the opportunity to accomplish things that I never thought was even on even possible. School just being one of them. I started a business during a pandemic. To tell me somebody who wouldn't be scared of that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think what we forget is that during active addiction, I mean, to live that long in active addiction, you can't be stupid. You have to be able to have hustle. And I mean, when you put those things towards productive things, it's amazing what you can do.
oh yeah. And that's what I love to preach it. I'm obsessed with, like the self-improvement process. I love to read self-help books, motivating things, that kind of stuff. And you know, alcoholics and addicts are, we have all of these tools. We use them to survive before. We're hard workers, we're detail oriented, we're very personable. We can get along with just about anybody. A lot of times the sense of humor thing comes along with that. And with these tools directed in the right way, um, with a program of recovery, you can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Brett, have you experienced some of the same stuff? Like, did you ever have fear hold you back from something, and like, but then when you got into recovery, you just kind of like work past that and then realize that you can succeed at that?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was a little distracted. I was trying to grab my phone. I was sending
No
Vincent a
worries.
message. He'd asked if anybody would give their number out. I didn't want to put my cell phone number in the chat, but I
Oh
sent him
yeah.
a message with my number. Um,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Fear can definitely play a huge part. I mean, just getting into recovery was fearful. Like anything. What is that? Is that
Uh-oh.
was that my mic?
That is you, sir.
Oh wow, that sounded really weird.
The-
It was like some kind of alien voice there for a minute.
yeah.
That was really cool. I've never do that before. Yeah. I mean, just starting the recovery journey to me was centered in fear. I mean, just the fear of the unknown, not knowing what to expect, not knowing how to live life without drugs. Like everything about it was wrapped up in fear for me, because I had gotten to a point in my life where everything revolved around drug use. I got high and went to work. I went on break at work and got high. I came home from work, I got high. It was like everything I did, any kind of I mean, a very limited like social life once I got deep into my addiction, but like anytime before I'd be in any kind of social situation, got to get high. Like, so yeah, there's tons of fear of just that unknown of not knowing what life is going to be like not using. And I mean, I'm sure there's so many different levels of fear in recovery, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Fear is definitely something that can hold us back. Like you said, the fear of unknown, or just the fear of, part of my fear was success. Like when I took my job over at Duffy's in Calistoga, I really had a fear. Like I seriously would drive up to the gate and I would sit there and punch my code in, and I would sit there and I would think to myself, like, am I going to get fired today? Because I don't really think that I'm qualified to be working here. Because, I came from like a county facility that was doing drug medical, and You know, it was specifically a low income type of facility to help people that didn't have the means to go into a treatment program. And then I took a job with a private company. And if you guys are familiar with Acadia Healthcare, they're pretty big throughout the U.S. And so I worked for Acadia Healthcare, and like I would really sit there and I would just doubt myself so much because I looked at all these people around me who had multiple years of recovery and all of this time, and they had all these degrees on the walls and everything. And here I was, you know, just coming out of my internship. I wasn't even licensed or credentialed at the time. I just had my registration, and you know, and they're giving me my own office, and like all these other really cool things. So, you know, that really put some doubt in my head, like, can I do this? But the truth was that, yeah, I can do this. And they wouldn't have hired me if they didn't think that I could, if I couldn't do this.
Well,
I
while
think
we have a
I-
little, oh, sorry, Ashley. I was just going to tell everybody that's watching about the giveaway tonight in case anyone is interested. While there's a little lull in the conversation, we're doing a giveaway from Stay Stopped, which is tonight's sponsor, and they have graciously offered to give away this awesome zip up Stay Stopped hoodie. So if you are interested in your chance to win this awesome hoodie that you see on the screen, all you have to do is comment hashtag Stay Stopped in the comments, and you'll be entered in for a chance to win that hoodie. All right, sorry, Ashley, back to you.
No, you're fine. I still struggle with that sometimes. What Carl was talking about is every time there's like an award or an achievement, I'm like, I want to hide behind something so that I'm like, you know, now there's all this pressure. It's like, what if I mess up again? What if I, you know, I think it's, you know, but I think that keeps me accountable too, because I know that one wrong decision and I can be right back where I was. So it's good and it's bad at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And JR even mentioned that fear is a dream killer. Dude, that's so right, man. Is that fear is definitely a dream killer. So yeah. So if you guys are out there and you want to do something in life, man, become educated on it. You know, lay everything out and do a pros and cons list. You know, you can see, you know, if you go out and you want to do something, you know, do you have the space to do it right now in your own life? And what are the benefits going to be? And what are some of the stuff that might not benefit you? Because every decision we make is going to have pros and cons. It's not always going to be a positive 110% experience 100% of the time. So I always tried to make myself as educated as possible when it came to making life decisions, or even not really even life decisions, like, you know, what no, I don't have a good example, but you know, just decisions in general. And it's come pretty easy now that I can like lay it all out and do all that. So,
And I think doing it scared is important too. You don't have to be 100% confident. Just
yeah.
do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's start too, right? Like it's you know, the hardest part about doing anything is starting.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was going back to school, I was in a community college here in St. Louis and just kind of toiling around, like taking classes. I was terrified to transfer to a university. You know, part of that was afraid that I would get denied, or like that they would say, no, I don't think so. But the other thing was, it was just like, I was just so fearful that I would fail. There were so many unknowns. And, you know, luckily I had a lot of supports in my life at the time that told me that this is where my life was headed. And I, you know, made the call and got in, you know. But the hardest part about doing anything is starting, you know. Like the hardest part about going to the gym in the morning is putting your shoes on, for
Yeah.
me.
Getting out of bed is the hardest part for me. and then convincing myself to put my shoes on. But once I actually get my shoes on and I'm like walking down the stairs to go outside, it's relatively autopilot. But even for me, it's like, oh man, do I really want to get out of bed right now? Because it's so comfortable. and I don't have to deal with the cold like you guys do, where you probably have to warm your car up for 45 minutes before you get into it.
Oh yeah. Oh, thanks, Amber. Amber saying that I'm the most obvious intellectual she's ever met, and she's a teacher, so she's not just my wife. She would give me shit in public too.
That's fantastic, and we appreciate her for that. So thank you, Amber. We really appreciate that for you.
My wife will be in the comments giving me shit here in a minute when I play the electric kazoo.
I'm kind of surprised that she hasn't chimed in yet, Brett.
This is good. Give them crap and be nice to me. That's how this should work.
Yes. We're gonna make this Ashley's show. It's gonna be all about Ashley.
But also, I think, Amber. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the things too is us as people in recovery. When we were using, we pretty much like blew up everything we touched, right? Like we couldn't live life on life's terms. So when we get sober, part of us still thinks that's all we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And Amber always told me that she thought I was smart and that I always could have done it, but I never thought that. That's my perception. That's the little guy in my head that I always talk about, that guy in my head that thing that never stops. And now I have so many tools and ways of dealing with it, but back when I was using that, my mind was constantly going, and it was not fun to be there there, and I think that's a common theme for a lot of us too, is that negative self-talk. We don't know what to do with it, and it turns into beliefs about ourselves that we don't think we can break.
Yeah, absolutely. That belief system that we've ingrained in ourselves, and it's not necessarily even the belief system that we're born with too, because that's a whole separate belief system that we have. But when we become addicted and we start living this lifestyle, we take on this characteristic and these traits that we think that we need to have just to survive, and that becomes our belief system. And so now when you come into recovery, you have to take that belief system and you have to say, okay, how much of this is actually true and how much of this is false? Because a majority of it is going to be false, because these are things that we're telling ourselves that, either I need to act this way, or either I need to feel this way, or, my belief is that I'm not capable of doing anything. One of my beliefs in my addiction was that I summed my life up as being an addict. That was what I was going to do. I was going to have a job that didn't go anywhere, and I was going to do drugs all the time. And that was like, I was okay with that for a long time. And it wasn't until I almost died that it like yanked me out of that belief system and said, there could be a potential different way to go about doing things.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I love belief systems. Like I love when clients come in and they're like, oh man, I got this belief system. And I'm like, all right, let's talk about that. Right. So we did almost a whole semester on belief systems in college. And man, it was such an interesting class to, it was like a big debate almost, like you would have one person here and the teacher would say, okay, this is going to be your belief system and you need to sell it against this person over here. And it was really cool, man. Really cool.
I know when I first got into recovery, my therapist made me look in the mirror and I had to say affirmations to myself. And I felt so stupid doing it. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And I fought it for probably a year. And then I just listened and did it. And I felt stupid, but it does help a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah. Those affirmations are really, those are, without using a pun, they're positive. Really helpful, right? Affirmations. And I don't know, do you guys use, okay, let's ask everyone in the chat and on the stream with us, how do you guys feel about using affirmations? What have you done as far as affirmations? And I know there's going to be a delay, so we'll let them start chiming in here.
JR likes your pun.
Yeah, I know.
He's got fired.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
Did you see the thing about the Matrix?
That was good. Yeah, let me put that back up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neo didn't believe for 3/4 of the first Matrix, and he was in it. I love that.
Yeah, where is Jeff to back you up?
I don't know where he's at tonight.
But as far as affirmations go, I love affirmations. I use them. There's a lot of times what I tell my guys to do, and sometimes it's affirmations, and sometimes it's more of like a grounding technique for myself. Like I'll put, like Post-it notes in my truck or my wallet or something just to remind me that, like it could be, like I'm worth it one day.
Yeah.
Or it could be, you are enough, or you can do this, or I am loved, or whatever it is. That constant positive reinforcement does change how you see the world.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we tell ourselves so many things internally, that self-talk, be it positive or negative self-talk, and that tape plays more in my head than it does talking to somebody about it, because I could be sitting in my car and I'm thinking to myself, man, why did I do that? What was I thinking? How could you be so stupid? And but if I talk to somebody about it now, I have somebody to bounce it off of, and they're like, okay, but you're not stupid, you're worth something, and it was a choice, yes, but we can move past this and help you with it. But sometimes sitting in that self-talk in my head is where I like to sit sometimes, because as damaging as that can do, it's also kind of some of that comfort that I'm used to, and maybe it's that internal thing that I hold on to a little bit with the process of being in recovery. And it's like that client that you get in it's I had a client come in, and it was over at Duffy's, and he said the most amazing thing. So he was super emotional, and it was just so lovely to see. And he kept asking for like melatonin. He wanted to go to bed, and we told him no, it was too early for melatonin. And then he said, well, can I get some medication for allergies? And I was at the desk, and I was like, allergies? Yeah, what type of allergies do you have? And he was like, I'm really allergic to my emotions, and I need to take something for them. And he wanted like a Benadryl. And I was like, oh, you poor person. All right, let's talk about your emotions, and we'll see if we can make them feel a little bit easier for you. So
I feel that, though. I'm allergic to my emotions too. I have a hard time with them, but you have to embrace them.
Yeah, you do. It's a necessity, and that's hard.
Yeah, I'm seeing some good affirmations though coming in. I see my buddy Bill Simmons out there.
I'll put it back up there for you.
Rewards and consequences are both self-serving. I don't know how many times I've heard that from my buddy Bill.
Yeah.
Kevin is on there too. My buddy, I'm going to be great today. Kevin's a solid recovery advocate as well. He does his own live. Solid guy. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah. Today's gonna be a great day. JR, thank you for that one. And Shelly wrote, I read a positive quote every morning to start my day. It helps with all the negativity and
ugliness
in the world. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
It is, yeah.
Thanks, Shelly. We're work in progress, not perfection, right?
Hey, that's my line.
I love quotes.
Yeah, I love quotes. Quotes are amazing. In fact, I've even put quotes on my shirts and stuff for the podcast. I love getting unique quotes and then like making like merchandise out of them, because I don't know, this one quote always stuck with me, and it was my first NA convention that I went to, and it was in San Jose, California, and So if any of you aren't familiar with what a convention might feel like or look like or something like that, especially now if you're new to recovery and maybe it's your first or second year of recovery, and because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to do our usual yearly conventions and world convention and stuff like that. But it's probably one of the most amazing things that I've experienced in early recovery was sitting in this convention, and it was a Saturday night, and we had the speaker from Chicago. And if you envision, I don't even know how I can put this into words so that you kind of get the grandness of scale. But maybe take a football field without the bleachers and stuff, but just the field part, and put it into an auditorium, right? And that's kind of the size that you're looking at, as far as the length and the width of the auditorium, and it's just lined with seats all day, right, all the way to the back. And then you have television sets like about a quarter of the way down, halfway down, and then 3/4 of the way down, so that people could see the stage because the stage is so far away. And one of the amazing things that happens at this convention is they do a clean time countdown, and so they start. I think they start at 65 years and they work their way all the way down to 1 day, and you have this crowd chanting, "Keep coming back, keep coming back." And as they're getting down to the 30 days, they start counting 1 day at a time, "Keep coming back," and then people are standing up. And it was so amazing because when they got to 1 day, there was one guy that stood up at this convention, and everybody stopped. And they had these huge tablecloths where everybody was putting their clean date on there and all of that stuff. And they took all the tablecloths and they wrapped it around him with 1 day clean at this convention. And for me, that was so amazing because there were so many people in this room. I mean, probably 2,000 people in this room chanting, "Keep coming back." I mean, you could feel the floor just pulsing and the energy in the room. And during that convention, the speaker that was chairing the convention said, he would rather be sitting in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous thinking about getting high than sitting in a dope house thinking about going to a meeting. And for some reason, that really stuck with me. It really put me back into the dope house where I was like, man, if I was here and I was thinking about going to a meeting, man, that would be really screwed up because, boy, that would suck. And for some reason, that quote stuck with me, and I would remind myself of that in early recovery. If I ever thought about, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go back out and use? And I'd be like, yeah, that would really suck. So but if you guys have conventions out there and you have the ability to go to one maybe in a year or 6 months, or I don't know if they're going to start back up again, please go, because it can be that one thing that really pulls you into recovery and will keep you there.
Yeah, their conventions are really cool.
Yeah.
I got a chance to go to one in early recovery when I was living in Connecticut. I was in sober living in Connecticut, and we all went. And it was kind of my first taste of really anything, about the program that like wasn't a meeting or step work or something like that. And it was really cool, watching the countdowns, the circuit speakers, just having fun with a whole bunch of people that were like me.
Yeah.
And like you said, you never know what's going to resonate with you. When I look back and think about it, really it was just like a few guys here or there that I go back to, and I'm just kind of reminded of the fact that I was there. And it can be extremely motivating, but also remind you about how big of a community we have. Go anywhere in the world and you can find us. How crazy is that?
JR said, tell them about Mobilize.
Mobilize is in Las Vegas, and it was awesome. But I think on what you were saying is that being out loud and being vocal about our recovery helps people know that we're everywhere. and that we're there for them as well. And I think that's an important part too. I know CCAR is going to be in Florida. Is it this coming week, or I guess it's next week? I think the 10th. I don't know if any of you guys know about CCAR, but
no, I don't know about CCAR. CCAR or CCAR?
CCAR.
CCAR. CAR. R. Okay.
Google it.
Brett, can you Google that for us? I'm a little technically challenged when it comes to streaming.
Yeah. Say that one more time.
CCAR.
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 Yeah, CCAR. It's okay. Use your words. Oh, you froze.
My internet is not happy that I'm trying to.
No,
yeah, my internet's not happy that I'm trying to multitask.
Super angry with you right now.
So they're the ones that do like recovery coaching, the CCAR. They do sober living facility credentials.
Okay.
So they're having their big convention in Punta Gorda, Florida. So it's like probably 4 or 5 hours south.
Cool. Yeah, I'm
Let
looking
me try from my phone.
Yeah. So CCAR. That's.
And then Mobilize was people from all over the United States. They went to Las Vegas and learned how to advocate for rights for people in recovery, to fight for things that their communities need. There were so many people there. Tom Coder was there. Ryan Hampton. Now that I'm on the spot, I'm not going to remember. But it was just, there's all kinds of stuff we learned. And it was amazing. I didn't want to go home because it's like you're around your people and then you have to go back into the community. And it feels different when you're with people that understand.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of my experience with the whole, my first convention was that like, I knew that there was a recovery community out there. I didn't know it was so big. I didn't know that, I was going to be in a room with like 2,000 people. I mean, that's freaking crazy. So, and all of us were there for the common goal of one more day in recovery. Right. And so, yeah. But people understand, people that are like me, people that get me.
All right. Here's the trivia question. Do you guys know how many people they estimate are in recovery in the United States?
In the US, not the world.
In the US.
Okay. So,
let's get people to guess in the comments too.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I have a guess, and no Googling out there, all you Googlers. No Googling allowed.
No Yelping. I don't even know.
Because this is one of the big misconceptions.
23,
a lot of people.
23 million.
Yeah, that's right.
What?
Oh,
no, JR. Come on.
I was going to guess 25.
Oh, I was going to guess like maybe like 15. And I was thinking that was going to be like really high. Oh, Heather and I were thinking about the same, 16 for her. So yeah. Yeah.
So as of like 2020, they were estimating that there was about 21 million in active addiction and about 23 million in recovery.
Wow.
But now they're estimating 2021 that there's about 40 million people in the United States in active addiction.
Wow.
I believe it, because we have definitely seen an uptick on folks coming into our treatment centers with, that 4 years ago wouldn't have been identified with a substance use disorder. And now they're coming in and they're saying, well, because of the pandemic and I had so much time at home and, my boss isn't standing over me, I can start my day off with a drink and coffee, or I can have, a harder drink at lunch versus maybe wine or something like that. So a lot of people, and then also people that, have been on medications and stuff like that. A lot of opiate use and everything too, with opiate medications.
I've noticed it a lot because I don't work in the recovery community every day. And I've seen a lot of people come and talk to me about, do you think that maybe I need to seek treatment because I need to drink to be able to go to sleep at night? I've heard people say, I used to smoke pot occasionally, but now I'm doing it 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And it's one of those conversations you have to have, that if you believe it's a problem and you believe that you need to seek treatment.
Yeah.
I don't know what's normal for you or what you need.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're definitely thinking that what you're doing is a problem, then it's good to talk to a professional. It's good to have somebody diagnose you and see if you fit the criteria, and what level of treatment you would be appropriate for you too. And guys, just so if anybody out there is in active addiction and you're listening to the show, welcome. We want to make sure that this is a safe place for you. We want to make sure that you guys understand that, what we're talking about today is something that you can achieve. And also, if you're still in active addiction, or maybe you have some ambivalence, meaning that you're on the fence, and you would go into what we call a harm reduction model, where we say, well, you're going to, maybe you try to use less throughout the day, and then maybe we can get you down to using nothing. Seek that professional help, because you can always go into a different level of care. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go into residential treatment if you're in the early stages of addiction. Maybe an outpatient type of service would be appropriate for you. Maybe going to see a therapist who specializes in addiction treatment would be appropriate for you. It doesn't mean that you have to uproot your life necessarily to get help. There's different levels of help out there. And I think it's important for people to understand that, because my whole view was, when I went into treatment, was that I was going to have to go and live somewhere to have treatment. But the reality of the situation was that I was diagnosed, and I still don't really understand why they sent me to outpatient first. But now that I work in the field, I do. But I started with outpatient, and that was enough for me to get me on track with now long-term recovery. So,
And I think that it's important to know there's a recovery community organizations in lots of different towns and lots of different cities all over the country. And sometimes a peer will be able to help you. They have help numbers that you can call. Just reach out. It doesn't mean that you have to go anywhere, but sometimes just talking and opening the conversation.
yeah. That
And a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. And a lot of people manning those phones are people like us.
Right.
They can talk you through kind of the process. One of the most unfortunate things about treatment is you really don't know anything about it unless you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if you know someone that's in recovery, obviously you have the benefit of reaching out to them and seeing what's right for you. But you can try any number level of care, and then you really, if it doesn't work, there's a lot of options out there for you. But that first phone call can make all the difference. And a lot of times the people on the other side of those phones either have been affected by addiction in some way or in recovery themselves, which for me was very comforting. When I went to treatment, and I obviously went like right after New Year's. I had to get one more in there. But
yeah,
I was on the phone with the guy doing my intake questionnaire. He was asking me, like, what kind of drugs did I do? How much did I do? How much did I drink per day? All these kinds of things. And of course I told the truth the whole time. But but he told me before he said anything else that he was in recovery himself, and that he understood, how hard this was. And thinking back, I was so much more comfortable knowing that. So I think it's important to mention that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. All right, guys. And for those of you that are just joining us today, we are joined by Matt. And Matt is a person in long-term recovery. He's also a recovery professional. And we appreciate you guys coming on. My name is Carl. We have Brett on, Fear the Beard over there with the green hat. And we have the lovely Ashley over there coming in live from Florida. So thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. And Brett, I am going to sign off because I have a prior commitment. I'm meeting a sponsee and we're going to the Monday Night Miracles meeting in Vacaville, California. And it's a standing appointment that I have with him, and then we're going to hit Black Bear Diner. And I have a lady at Black Bear Diner that supplies me with blue cheese dressing, and that's my new connect. And I've run out because
That's your drug of choice.
I didn't go last week, and so the cupboard is dry from blue cheese dressing, and so I need to re-up with my blue cheese connect. And for those of you that don't know, I think I mentioned this last week. Black Bear Diner makes their own, and this is not a plug for them. I'm just telling you my own life experience, life on life terms right now. But Black Bear Diner does make their own in-house blue cheese dressing, and it's life-changing, to be honest. So next time you're out, get a salad. Stay healthy, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. But the show is going to continue, so don't jump off just because I'm leaving.
I'm expecting you to wear a Black Bear
yes.
t-shirt next week.
I'm gonna have a staff. I'm gonna ask them for a staff ID name tag that says Black Bear with my name on it. And I'm seriously, because she's the manager, and so she can make dreams happen.
Enjoy some fellowship, Carl.
Thank you for coming. We loved having you.
You're welcome, Matt. It was a pleasure meeting you, Ashley. Always
Pleasure.
lovely to see you, Brett. It's been tolerable. All right.
Got a beard joke you can throw in before you leave?
Tolerable. Fear the beard.
Easy. I got your back, Brett.
Yeah. Ashley, they're going to gang up on you if I leave. Are you? Yeah. Don't let them push you around.
No, we're not going to do that.
Don't let them. They're hockey fans, so don't let their hockey jokes fool you.
I'm a football fan.
That's right. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye. Have a good one. Enjoy that salad dressing.
Oh, I will. Life
It's got me hungry.
Yes.
All right. Well, since we kind of have a little lull, I'm gonna segue to the December birthdays, and JR is supposed to be putting a January birthday post up on the Facebook page. So if you guys want to be included on that birthday list, comment on that. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the video real quick, and we can recognize some people celebrating in December. And obviously Matt is celebrating 11 years today. So congratulations to Matt. I don't have you on this video because it's the December one. But I'll add you for the January one. I'll put you on the January one. So here's the video, guys. In the month of December. That's awesome. And if you guys are looking for unique recovery gifts, coins, etc., be sure to check out doingitsober.com. Yeah.
I love that website name. Just throwing that out.
It's a good one. It's a good one for sure.
I was jamming to your music, Brett, just so you know.
Yeah, it was getting down. Congratulations to all the December birthdays.
Yeah, and remember, if you want to be on the January list, keep an eye out for that post from JR. I think he said he was going to pin it on the top of the page. So keep an eye out for that.
I was thinking about what you said about people answering the phone being in recovery. And I think it's worth pointing out for those listening that are in recovery that there's certified recovery peer specialists as well, that you can do that as well. You could do it as an occupation. You can do it volunteer. I'm a certified recovery peer specialist. I use it to volunteer. And it just lets you know, like, people know that you're in recovery too.
Yeah, peer specialists are huge. I'm involved in a coalition here in Missouri called MoPros, and it's all about kind of the power that a peer specialist can have in a treatment setting, or really any setting, attached to kind of the, recovery landscape, because I didn't really trust anyone unless they had walked where I walked. They knew how I felt, and they thought like I thought. It was recovery people that really got me to take a second look at this thing and give it a chance. And that's where I think, peer specialists are just such a powerful position, for helping these people either on the phone, in a treatment setting, or wherever. Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, just everywhere. I mean, there's people that will come to you and tell you that they're in recovery that wouldn't tell anybody else. And just any occupation in any industry, being able to be there to be a support for someone is huge.
Agreed.
And like for my recovery, I've said this before, being able to give back is what keeps me sober. So without service, I don't know that I'd be where I was today or where I am today. So it builds self-confidence. It builds connections. It's done more for me than I've done for anybody else. I can guarantee you that.
And the service aspect, it feels good too, to get out of myself. I was talking to one of my guys the other day. I was sick for a few days and I wasn't able to be out at the house. And I was talking to him on the phone for like a little over an hour. And he said, I'm sorry that I'm bothering you. And I was like, dude, you are saving me by allowing me to be of service to you. And, service work is what I've learned the most from. Taking those phone calls, going to 12-step calls, sponsoring people, random acts of kindness, making coffee, whatever it was, right? Like I learned a ton from it. It allowed me to be more involved in it, and helping other people. Just, for people that don't understand, it feels great, and we're so much in here constantly that when we're of service, we're not in there. And it's just a huge aspect to recovery, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I totally agree with that. And just getting out of that self-centeredness. And that was something that I didn't even realize in the beginning was such a huge part. And I feel like I almost got tricked into service because I started attending meetings and I got a commitment without really knowing it, because they were like, hey, we need somebody to make a pot of coffee at the beginning of the meeting. You think you could show up a few minutes early and do that? I'm like, yeah, sure. And didn't even realize, like, oh, I'm being of service. I have to show up a few minutes early. That gives me time to talk to people and like network and stuff. And I didn't even realize that I was being of service and making those connections with other people. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of recovery for me. And I think it is for at least everybody that's on the live stream tonight. I don't know about everybody that's watching, but I know for everybody that's on here, like, we're all of service in some way. And I think that's a huge part of our recovery.
Huge. And like, somebody signed me up like you to like be a greeter. I think that was my first commitment. I may have set up chairs before that, but hey, can you come a few minutes early and just, check on people when they come in and just whatever. And then I had a commitment for 6 months. And I loved it, because as someone with social anxiety, you would never know it now, but that's mostly because of, AA and NA. To share in a meeting in front of people, to tell my story at a meeting, or to greet people at the door was such a daunting task. And now it's a part of me. I love that part of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things. The first time I went and spoke in front of a meeting, I was so nervous, and the whole time I was nervous. But to be able to go up there and be 100% yourself and 100% honest, like in a way, and people accept that, you just get something different out of it. I know, at the beginning, you get something different out of meetings when you first start going, and then you get to a point where you like plateau, and if you don't take it up a notch, you risk going the opposite way, because there's only so much you can get from just going and not participating. And so then when you have to work on these things that are hard for yourself and that are scary, you get something completely different from the meeting or the group that you did before. So if you feel like you're growing out of your group, maybe try a different experience inside your group.
Yeah, be a reader. Or like I did back to basics trainings last year, where we were on Zoom doing the 4 1-hour sessions to go through the steps in a month. And I had gone through it before just as a participant. And then for several months, I was facilitating the meetings, and I learned way more from going through, all the information in and out of the book. And just, I became so much more knowledgeable, and was able to learn so much more from that, or reading in a book meeting. Sometimes you do popcorn or whatever, but for mine, you pick a reader. Reading, it's crazy what you can get by just being willing to do something a little extra in a meeting.
It's true, and I was terrified of reading in front of people when I first started, man. I hated it. I think that goes back to that social anxiety that you were talking about, and I think I still suffer from that. Ashley and I were talking about it. I think that was yesterday, and we were both like, "Yeah, I prefer not to have my video on." Like the podcast I started is audio only, and that's where I'm more comfortable than with a camera where people can see me, and I feel like I have to like sit a certain way and like act a certain way, and I don't know. I'm not good at like looking at the camera. I'm terrible with that, and yeah. So this too is being of service and getting me out of my comfort zone, because it's something that I'm not used to and something that I'm definitely not comfortable with.
And
that is true.
It's a hard adjustment when you use substances to numb, or to get excitement, depending on what you're using your substance for. But I know I used pain medicine, and it was numbing, and I was able to be around people because it numbed that anxiety. I didn't feel it. So then, when I stopped using them, you feel everything about 1,000,000 times more, and it's a really hard adjustment.
Definitely. Well, should we do the hoodie giveaway? What do you guys think?
I think we should. I hope somebody put it in for me, because that's a pretty sweet hoodie, I gotta
Well,
say.
you can comment on there, and you can enter yourself as well.
I don't have the stream open. It's cool. I'll share this time. I'll buy my own. How about that?
Okay. All right. So I'll throw the picture back up there again so everybody can see the awesome hoodie that we're giving away, and I'll get us some fun music going. And let me hit this little draw button over here. I need like some drum roll.
I can't do it.
All right, Vincent. Vincent is the winner of the hoodie tonight.
Nice.
Awesome, Vincent. Congratulations, man.
Boy, Vincent.
I was cheering for you.
Love
He's on day 2. So this is a celebration for his second day recovery.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the comments so later I can remember that he won. And
I'll remind you if you forget.
Oh yeah.
We're celebrating Vincent.
Right.
And Jessica. We're celebrating Jessica too.
Jessica's a couple days.
Mm-hmm. It's so exciting to me to see that, because like the whole world's in front of you. It's your oyster.
It's what we do. It's why we do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, for them. You know, the newcomer, the most important person in any room.
That's right.
In this virtual live, which is so cool that you know, that they joined. I loved seeing that. You know, even though I have 11 years now, I still feel close, you know, to that person. I can remember how it felt. It gets better, both you guys.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's awesome that they were able to find the online communities, because I don't think I even found recovery social media pages for a couple of years in my recovery. So it's awesome that with a couple days they found us. That's awesome.
And if you guys ever don't think you're worth it, you definitely are.
Oh yes.
Absolutely.
JR said, "Congrats, Vincent." See, we're all cheering for you. So if there's ever a day you don't think you can do it, just remember, we think you can do it.
Put on the Stay Stopped hoodie and just remember, you can do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Remember the 3 redheads on the screen cheering for you.
Yeah. In our own podcast.
That's right. Gingers in recovery.
That would be a pretty rowdy bunch if we got a bunch more. Imagine those. That'd be pretty crazy.
I'm sure we could find a couple.
Oh yeah.
I know a few.
Me too. And they're funny. You probably have an interesting show.
We might be onto something.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't talk too much about it. Someone might steal the idea and get rich
JR,
off of it.
We're going to start a spin-off show with Gingers in Recovery. Don't tell anyone.
And JR, since you're not a ginger, sorry.
You're
I'm
out.
just kidding.
You're out, JR. You're not a ginger.
Sorry, buddy.
I can't wait to see what he says to that.
Yeah, I think there's a few second delay, and he's probably typing frantically. We await your response, JR.
JR, are you out buying hair dye?
Oh.
No fake gingers allowed.
Yeah.
He says, I don't know what to say, but okay. Is that the first time you've ever heard him be speechless?
I think so.
Me too.
He usually has a witty response.
Wait for it. He'll think of something. Pressure's on, JR.
Suspense is killing me.
He's Googling ginger jokes right now.
Oh no.
I just know it.
Well, at least he's not looking at blonde jokes.
There's more of those.
So since you've been in recovery, what's the most interesting grouping of, since we're talking about gingers in recovery, has there been any interesting ones you've seen?
Groupings? Like how?
Podcasts or just
honestly,
identifying in certain ways?
Yeah, honestly, you know, the podcasts and the pages and all that kind of stuff is pretty new to me. But I know the person that operates the Dank Recovery memes page on Instagram.
I follow that one.
It's a good one. My buddy, he's here in St. Louis. He's in recovery himself. Super funny page. But that's probably like the most connected to pages that I have, really.
Like Dank, like DANK?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. I've never heard of it.
I think they're on Facebook and Instagram, but there's some funny stuff on there, like for sure.
Bye, Heather. Thank you for
Bye,
coming.
Heather.
Oh man, I'm
Cranky
surprised that I
Pete.
don't hear my daughter crying. It's about that time to put her down.
Same
wife's
here,
in
man.
there.
Same here. How old is your daughter now?
She is 4 months.
4 months. Okay, so I'm a little bit ahead of you. We're at month 10.
I'm a little bit ahead of you both. I have a 12 and 13-year-old.
Does it get
Man.
easier?
No.
Oh, Vincent,
Girls or
did I
boys?
win? Yes, you
Girls.
did win, Vincent.
Oh man,
The challenges just change. They're different challenges. You don't have diapers. You don't, they can take a shower themselves, but there's questions that you don't know the answers to. There's people that hurt them that you want to kill. There's, things that you overthink because of our past and how do I answer this that I don't damage them. And so
yeah.
it's worth it though.
That's what everybody says. I'm terrified of my daughter being a teenager just because of how I was. It terrifies me. I mean, I can't. I mean, I've loved everything thus far, and I can't wait just to see her, have a personality and like be a human. Like she already has like some, she can smile at you and she like follows your face and stuff, and like all that's really cool. But, yeah, the teenage phase scares me.
It's scary, but then there's some things that like they say and you're just like, whoa, that came out of my kid's mouth. Like they're so, supportive, and yeah, they can have their moments. Don't get me wrong, but they're people, and the things you teach them and the experiences I've lived through that I can teach them about might prevent them from having them or helping somebody else through them.
Oh, it's kind of like what we were talking about. I think that was yesterday. Having an episode about parenting and recovery. I think it can be very beneficial because that's terrifying. I'm with you, Matt. Like the idea of her becoming a teenager is so frightening, and I don't even know. I don't want a future trip on it because I know that can be dangerous. But man, I am truly terrified.
The great thing is that being in recovery when they're so small, hopefully they'll never have to, live through the not so great stuff.
Exactly.
It's one of those things with my kids. Like my daughter used to tell people I was like 2 years into recovery, and she's like, my mom doesn't do drugs now, and you can tell because she's awake all the time. And she used to sleep all the time, so that's how I know she doesn't do drugs. And I'm just like, this would be at like school teacher conferences, like, yeah, kids can shame you and then tell you how it is, and it's the truth. But yeah, some interesting experiences.
That's for sure. Yes,
So
it's my hope that she never has to see that guy I used to be. I put that in my post today when I was talking about, my 11 years, and that's, for a long time on this show, it was, we were talking about fear. I think maybe that right now is maybe, one of those fears that I have that I got to work through. I'm glad that I'm coming to that realization with you guys.
Parenting's hard. Parenting while you're in recovery and you have your own stuff to deal with is, hard, but it's so rewarding to be able to give them that fighting chance to be able to be honest about where you've been. Like, it's such a gift because there's so many people that hide it from their kids. And then it's a cycle a lot of times. And I realized telling my kids the hard stuff builds a resilience to for them for the hard stuff.
And Amber's bringing up, we were house parents in a program called Joe's Place here in St. Louis, where they house homeless boys in a local school district here. And it's not really, I guess technically it's a group home, but it's like, we can have 4 boys in the house with us, and it's more like a family dynamic. And we definitely struggled with that. She called it dichotomy, rebelliousness, just kind of, they're learning by like trial and error. And so I think, with them, it was me and Amber trying to model what a healthy relationship looked like for them. Because it was a different story for them. They don't know, what a healthy relationships look like. We had a couple of guys that were uncomfortable eating at the dinner table with us, And so I guess to some degree, I have a little bit of experience with teenagers, but that aren't my own, but still, I cared deeply for and parented for a few years.
Ashley, any advice since you are the parent of teenagers? No pressure. Didn't want to put you on the spot.
Like I said before, be honest about, your shortcomings. If you teach your children that they have to be perfect and that perfection is, the only standard, then you can't live up to that. So when you tell them about the hard stuff, when you tell them that they're good enough just the way they are, it doesn't matter if you do X, Y, or Z, you're worth it. Those are the things that really matter.
Yeah, and when you were sharing that, what came to mind was just the power of example. Like trying to model this new way of life and show them, how to behave and how this is how I'm living now. And like Matt was saying, I hope that my daughter never has to see me when I'm using, because I'm a totally different person. Like right now I'm a soft-spoken, mellow, easygoing guy, but like when I have drugs in my system, I'm a totally different person. I can be very loud and confrontational and violent and just not a fun person to be around. So, I really do hope that she never has to see that.
Well, and since I'm the only girl here and you guys both have daughters, I will say that fathers are, a big example for daughters, and the way you treat their mom and the things you say to their mom is what they're going to look for in somebody one day. So, that's a really important thing and I know you both do, but, just have to say it, that it's super important.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that holds me accountable too. I pride myself now with the way that I treat Amber. She's my partner and she's, my supporter and everything. And that's kind of what I learned at Joe's Place too, was they learned more from watching us than us telling them anything. And so also I want to treat my wife so nice that my daughter will never find someone that is as good.
Well, you want her to find someone that treats her well, if she's going to find someone.
I'm just joking.
Just no dating until like your mid-30s.
Yeah, mid-30s. That's fine.
Well, I know there's a lot of people out there. They'll like call names just in joking. They'll like call their wife or their girlfriend, the B word, or and it's you don't think, you think you're joking. You're not really calling them. They know, but the kids don't always know. They hear that name and they get desensitized to it.
True. They're always watching too. They always remember.
Yeah. Parenting is hard. You're raising this little person to like be able to live on their own one day. Like it's the only job that you like have that you're really like raising someone to like give them away. You know, you love this little person so much, but for them to be successful in life, they can't depend on you for everything. So those skills that you teach them, you're giving them to them to go off one day and make the world their oyster. That saying again.
Now I'm over here future tripping.
Don't do that.
Oh man.
Don't do that.
They will turn out completely different than what you expect, and it'll be 100 times better than you could ever imagine.
I have no doubt.
It's so exciting. I just like thinking what they'll be like, or
The miracles of recovery.
what life will be like.
They're endless.
Can you imagine what the United States is going to be like in 10, 20 years? Like,
I don't want a future trip.
You're freaking Brett out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I do love my like post-apocalyptic movies and stuff, so I have my ideas of what it could be like in 10 years.
But maybe people will catch on and see all these changes and make them, and well, it'll be completely different than that.
Or we could all be fighting for gasoline at Gastown. I mean, who knows?
I could get in a car accident tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen.
That's true. That's true.
You got to live your life fully and be hopeful
and present. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I struggle with sometimes. And it's, and a lot of times it's like, what stuff hasn't happened yet, and that's something that I've really tried to focus on the past year. That's, I'm trying to be as present as I can be and really just enjoy the life I'm living right now, because I would always trip about, I got to work hard to get this job or, anything really, and it was always, I was working towards something. I was constantly, grinding, school, grad school, jobs, internships. I was going for like a lot of years. And now I just want to enjoy every bit of it. I don't want to skip a beat. And, my daughter's a big part of that. She's why I want to be present and remember this time that I have with her, because before I know it, she'll be 13.
And I think an important part of that too is even the bad stuff, even the sad stuff and the hard stuff. That's what makes you be able to feel the good stuff. If everything was good, it would just be all the same. And some of the hardest stuff is what leads you to the best stuff. You just can't see it in that moment.
Yeah, that's why I always said, like, the last couple of years struggling with COVID or whatever, all like the hardships, I was like, man, there is something really good coming. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but there is something really good coming because one, God never gives us more than we can handle, right? And two, I truly believe that it's like there's no good without bad. There's no, victory without struggle. And I can't wait to see what it is.
I'm excited because I see so much more empathy in the world. I see people being more aware of things they weren't aware of. There are people that are mad, but a lot of that is trauma responses. And I think that once they start realizing that it's, results of trauma, that, they'll come around too. I'm the most hopeful that I've been probably my whole life for just people in general. I'm excited.
True.
Yeah, we have to do better. We've got these kids that we need to give a better chance to.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, does anybody in the comments have any questions for Matt or myself or for Ashley?
This should be interesting.
I see JR's comment about Thunderdome. He got my reference. Thank you, JR.
Are you a Chiefs fan?
I am a Chiefs fan.
I'm sorry about yesterday.
It was a tough loss. Yeah. Joe Burrow played great. I love pretty much any and all sports, but that was a tough one to swallow, considering we won 8 in a row.
Yep. But when you win next time, it'll feel better because you had a loss.
That's where I see where you were going with that. Okay.
I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so I'm used to losses, and I'm used to the wins feeling really good.
You guys are high flying. You guys beat us earlier in the year.
Last year was amazing. I'm hoping that we end on that kind of note this year, but go a little bit further. But you never know.
Always making it easy on me, Kevin. How did you do it?
One day at a time, right?
Yeah, one day at a time, buddy. I mean, you know as well as I do. I did it with a lot of help, and I did it by showing up even when I didn't want to, and by constant self-exploration and betterment, and I did it with people like you, in those meetings, and I had the opportunity to go to treatment, and I had the opportunity to go to sober living, and all that was great. I had a great foundation and support system, but at the end of the day, what kept me sober 11 years? People like you, buddy. Being there with me so that I can be of service.
Well said. Well said. Any other questions?
Important.
Uh-huh.
Questions. Oh, he's giving you the
strong
muscles.
arm.
Yeah, that's my buddy right there.
And it's awesome to see people that are here to support you, man. Like that's what I love about the recovery community. It doesn't matter like what it is that we do. There's always people that are there to support us. Like I'll have people from my home group that'll be in the comments some weeks commenting. It's just awesome just to see just like the new family that we get in recovery. It really is it's a blessing. Like I don't know how else to say it, man. Like we get just such strong connections with other people that have been through similar situations to us.
Oh yeah, and it's the family you choose, right? One of the things I probably struggle with the most when I'm working with new guys is sometimes they really are kind of turned off to 12-step programs, and they're like, I went to a meeting this one time, and this guy said something, and I didn't like it, so I didn't go. I didn't want to go back. And I was like, man, you just got to find your people. And once you find your people, like if I don't show up to a meeting, people are going to ask me what's up, and I'm going to get some phone calls throughout the week asking me how I'm doing. If there's an inkling that something's not right, they constantly are able to understand what I'm going through, where a typical person would not. It's those people that we find that help us along and allows us to be part of something bigger. And that's what I loved about it too, man. I really do.
Yep. And you got to hang in there, because I know during treatment, I didn't find my people. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't smoke. So I was, I was an outcast. Because I did pain medicine, they didn't think that I was street enough for, I'd get made fun of for that because I was faking my addiction. And, or, they would tell their stories and be empathetic, but you don't know what it's like to sell your body or do this or that. And it's really hard to be in that situation, but you will find your people, and you'll find people that you will reach with your story, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We need people, all different types of people.
Oh yeah, we're not a glum lot.
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of fell into that same category too as you, Ashley, where I felt a little bit of that like imposter syndrome because I never used needles. And like a lot of people when I first came in the rooms were always talking about shooting up, and it's like, oh, I've never done that. Like, but I still, you know, but then at the same time I was like trying to justify it, like, yeah, but my rock bottom was still pretty low. Like, you know, I felt like I had to like almost exaggerate my story a little bit to like, oh, I'm big and bad too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've, you know, and it's always like I struggled coming in young with the judgment of, man, I spilled more than you ever drank, or I did more harder drugs and and really, you know, just not for me. Like I ended up finding my people, and we have old, young addicts, alcoholics, like we are together, you know. Oh, here we go. One meeting without one of our regular members, phone will be ringing, and it'll be Kevin. I know it will.
That's
But
awesome.
it's crazy when, someone comes and looks for you, because we had this life for so long where it didn't feel like anyone cared. And if we don't show up somewhere, someone's calling. And sometimes at first it's a little bit much, but once you get used to it, it's amazing.
Thank you for saying that, Christy. That's 100% true. You know, I don't want anyone at my meeting, whether it's AA or NA or wherever you go, to be excluded.
Mm-hmm.
We're addicts, alcoholics. We're all there for the same reason. And, I'll identify as an alcoholic and an addict. I qualify for both fellowships. I qualify for any 12-step meeting I can walk into, pretty much. Like, that's 100% true. And I want to normalize that, you know.
And every substance comes with its own challenges. I know, like for me, with it being pain medicine, I'm like, what if I ever need surgery one day? Like, how do I, so there's different challenges that I might have that somebody, that used a different substance would have. I don't have the issue like the grocery store, going to the grocery store. I've heard people say that the bottles talk to them when they go to the grocery store. And I can't imagine how hard that must be to have to see it every day when you're just doing your regular shopping. So there's struggles and challenges no matter what substance.
Yeah, my drug is more. What do you got? I want more. And that's one of the things too, and that I'm glad you brought up about surgery. It's one of the things that scares the death out of my parents. If I ever need surgery, will I be able to take the medication? Or how will that happen? Because we've known so many people that once they get a taste, that's it. And unfortunately, it happened to, there was a mentor of mine at the time, had a lot of sobriety and had surgery and got a taste, and unfortunately he didn't make it. But that being said, there's always a way through it. We have to lean on our network when that happens. And, I truly believe that it doesn't matter, what it is. If I ever need surgery, cool. Like my wife will handle it. My wife has more sobriety than all of us. She's never had a drink in her life, if you can believe it. Like,
wow.
Which is crazy, but yeah, that's scary. There's challenges for all of us. Different drugs of choice. Alcoholics is you can go to a gas station. and it's staring you in the face, we have to be stronger with each other than they are.
Well, and I wasn't even at a year in recovery when I had to get my gallbladder out. And that was a scary thing for me. And I was able to do it completely narcotic free. And I think I healed 10 times faster than I would have otherwise. But I think it's important to note too that doesn't mean that every situation you don't take pain medicine if it's what you need in the situation, but have people you can depend on in a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did it with wisdom teeth. Yeah, I had a year sober and got my wisdom teeth taken out. They almost begged me to take the meds home too. I was like, no, no, ibuprofen and popsicles, man.
Yeah, I had a similar situation to that as well. I broke my thumb pretty early on, and I was living back at home with my parents, and I remember the doctor was like trying to force me the script. I'm like, I don't want it. And like, I think he gave it to my mom. We got in the car and my mom was like, I'm going to hang on to this script. And I was like, I don't care what you do with it. Rip it up, burn it. I don't want it. Like, I'm not interested in that.
Yep.
But that's the beauty of the community though. Like going back to that whole concept of support and community, we can find other people that have been through those situations and ask them how they did it. That's I've had family members that have passed away and some of the people that I turned to were people that have shared in meetings like, my daughter died or my mom died or whoever, and then I'm looking for them like, hey, I'm going through what you went through. How did you do it?
And it gives something back to them too, because it makes that pain have a purpose, even though it doesn't negate the pain, but at least there's something good that comes out of the pain, being able to help you through that situation.
And I'm going to be calling Ashley, hey, my teenager's doing this. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to say, I don't know, but you could try this. I wish there was a way to know like 100% this will work or it won't, but I guess that's the great part of parenting is that there's no manual and there's no right or wrong answer. I guess that's true about life too, right? No manual, no right or wrong answer.
That's right.
Yep. That's my father-in-law's thing that he liked to say, kids don't come with a manual.
Dr. Spock was wrong.
Even though there's thousands of them at the bookstore. I read one of the parenting books like going into it and like read the sections of like what to expect when your wife's pregnant and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't feel like any of this is accurate at all.
No, because they're all their own people.
Exactly.
Every experience is different too. You come to it with different expectations and experiences, and that's what makes it interesting.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're almost at 2 hours. You want to wrap it up? I know I got a little one that's ready to go to bed.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on that as well.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much. Oh, what's up, Michael?
Today I realized that addiction is when visible things become my source. Then my life becomes unmanageable. Great show. Thank you.
Shout out to Michael. He's also in the
awesome.
Dallas area, and he does a live stream on Facebook that's a recovery related stream. I don't remember which day of the week it comes on, but I met him a couple years ago. He's an awesome guy. So shout out to Michael. Everybody go check out the M to the Rock Facebook page. He puts on some great shows, so check him out.
Michael, put in a plug on the day that we can listen or watch. We'll check
throw it in the comments, man. That's awesome. And Matt, thank you for coming on tonight, man. Congratulations again. 11 years sober today. That's incredible, man. And it's awesome that it worked out where you were able to come on the live stream on your sober birthday. Like that's so awesome, man. When we were talking about it back and forth, and then you're like, oh, January 3rd, that's my sober birthday. It was like, oh, dude, we got to do it on January 3rd. That's just incredible that it came out that way, man.
And he said tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary, right? Of your business?
Oh yeah. And tomorrow, I started Learn to Live a year ago tomorrow. So lots of fun celebrating the next couple of days. But yeah, when we did the podcast, it was super cool how everything lined up. I had to do it. What better way to celebrate it and show people it's possible than to come on here and talk about it.
Absolutely, man. 11 years. That's incredible, man. That's wow.
Next year, we're going to have to get ice cream cake, so that I can sit here and eat ice cream cake to celebrate.
Oh,
that
sounds good.
Okay, let's talk to JR. I think every time we roll the birthday video every week, I think we should be eating cake, and I think he should provide it. What do you think, JR?
It's a good excuse, Deke.
Yeah, we could get like some little small ones or something. Let's find a spot. JR, find us a sponsor for cake.
Yep, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna be back for that.
Everyone's gonna want to come on this show and eat cake.
Right.
And sing happy birthday. We're gonna have to find some people that can sing.
Oh, JR said gluten-free. No, thank you, JR.
No.
I haven't gotten to that phase of my recovery where I'm into working out yet. I'm still in the eating phase of my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll always be in the eating phase of my recovery.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you, Chrissy. Appreciate that. Thank you for supporting us, commenting.
And remember Vincent and Jessica, one day at a time. And everybody else.
And we'll get with you.
New hoodie too.
Yeah, we'll get with you after the show and get your info for the hoodie, Vincent. So, yeah. And don't forget that JR is going to be making a post on the Facebook page if you want to be included in the January sober birthdays. Put your date in the comments and you'll be added to the list. And we'll be doing a January video probably on the next live stream, but I don't know. It depends on how quick JR is to make that post. Oh, already posted. Look at that. He's calling me out. He already did it. I missed it. But find the post. Hopefully he pinned it to the top of the page. Leave your dates on there and we'll put together another video for January birthdays and celebrate. Hopefully JR gets us some delicious cake to eat on the show. That would be really cool. And
Chocolate makes everything better, JR.
Chocolate does make everything better. And as always, guys, I'm Brett. I have another podcast called Recovery Survey. I got new episodes every Wednesday. This week, we're going to be talking about grief and loss in recovery. So it's a tough episode, but it's definitely one that you don't want to miss out on. If you stay in recovery long enough, chances are you're going to lose somebody. And, you know, it's helpful to have the tools to deal with that when that comes up. So not a fun episode, but a lot of good information there. So be sure to check that out. Matt, thank you again. Congratulations on 11 years. That is phenomenal. I'll throw this back up there. So if anybody wants to find more on Matt, you can scan the little QR code and it'll take you to all of his social medias and such. You can find out all about Matt there. And
happy birthday, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you for letting us celebrate with you.
Oh, it was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for being of service. Being of service on his birthday.
That's what it's all about.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. We will see you again next week. And as always, we're going to have the audio version of tonight's live stream. It'll be up in about an hour or so after the broadcast ends. And you can rewatch or share this video in a few minutes after we finish, after Facebook does the little processing or whatever it is that Facebook does. It'll be available to rewatch or share there. And if you're interested in the audio version, just search Recovery Revolution Live on your favorite podcast player. And until next week, remember, progress, not perfection.